Welcome back to the LTA. It is the final day of our regular group stage play here in Split 2. It's where we're finally going to see how the dust settles on things. FlyQuest just locked themselves into first. Even if they lose this series in their group, they will still have that based on individual game score. But Dignitas have the ability, if they pull off the big-time comeback and take this series 2-1, they will be able to clutch the second place spot still. But game one did not bode well for that.
No more AD in Italy, though.
Yeah,
True,
you can't pick it twice. I wish we could get a live Shopify cam, you know, of them just sitting there being like, come on, FlyQuest, let's go.
I think they're feeling confident.
Yeah, especially after that game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think Keine, you know, he was doing pretty well in the early stages. Honestly, even the Dignitas bot lane in the 2v2 did really well on the first kind of turn down in bot lane. Isles was able to move out on the map, you know, force a flash mid, Sheiden found a good gank. Everything looked pretty good in the very early minutes. And then FlyQuest found this dive where it's like 4 versus 2. They kill both the 2, then Isles comes in to try to save them. He dies too. No one dies on their side. They get a bunch of plates. All of a sudden, they're monstrously ahead, and the game just absolutely exploded from there.
So I ran into Bwipo before the games today down in the makeup cave. And he told me that he's growing out the beard and he's going to keep doing it until they lose a series.
Playoff beard.
Until they lose a series.
So it's like the Viking thing where you keep growing your, you know,
until you're defeated in battle. Yeah. So that's what he's growing the beard out until they are defeated in a series. He said individual games doesn't count.
Hungry Bwipos. Okay, that one was good.
I mean, hey, he clearly looked hungry to win in the first one. He had an awesome performance. He's playing like a man who don't want to shave. And I think that Dignitas has just not found a solution for him just yet. We have so many crazy artists as fans that are just so talented with this. You're one of them. You can't talk about this from a third-person point of view. You are among that group. You make signs that I don't even know how people can draw that.
Emily's the person in art class who's like, my drawing's so bad. And ours are like, yeah, mine too. Yeah, ours are stick figures. Hers is like just photorealistic image.
And we're in draft. Look at that, guys. Rumble locked in for Srtty. Rumble's a super lane dominant champion. You love to see it.
Oh, man. All right, so we've got the Rumble locked in. We've got the Cassiopeia, the Yorick, and the Corki all banned away again by Dig. The Yone, the Vi, and the Nefiri banned again by FlyQuest. I can't remember 100%, but these might be the exact same bans for the first phase in Game 1, even though the teams have swapped sides and Fearless has kicked in.
And it's going to be Galio as the answer here for Bwipo. Again, it's like you can ban out the Yorick. The Yorick, good matchup again into the Rumble, but so is the Galio. They don't have enough bans for all of his answers, so Bwipo's still going to be able to get this preferential matchup here, and we'll see how he does perform on it. He seems very familiar with how this goes. And Pantheon going to get locked in. So now we have double globals here for the team. And it really is synergistic because you can send the Pantheon in first, and then Galio can ult into the backline off the Pantheon. You have the point-and-click stun for the Pantheon, and that buys time for the Galio to land, then taunt. It becomes really difficult to actually deal with if you're going with any low mobility carries.
Yeah, and I'm super curious now to see if Dig are going to end up picking away that Taliyah, since it is still up, and that's another champion that you could throw in that mid lane. Taliyah Pantheon has kind of been taking over, and it already goes really well with these first 2 picks from the FlyQuest side. Looks like they're hovering AD right now, so...
I never trust the Kaisa hover. I feel like that's one of the most commonly... this is also partially Bwipo's fault. Like, Kaisa's one of the most commonly hovered champions that doesn't get locked. So I never trust that until it's locked in. And there it is. They will go with AD, but the pick is Jhin instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I do think you want to play something relatively safe. Obviously, Ezreal's already off the table from game 1, but things like Zaya, you know, make sense. And I think Jhin, because you can kind of just give that assistance from long range with your ultimate, is a bit more safe. You have a lot of move speed as well. Ban Nidalee. Well, Nidalee is banned because it was played last game. Pick Timo. I don't know if we're getting the second part of the sign.
No. I don't think we are. But what we are getting is that Taliyah that I called out that pairs, again, super, super well with the Pantheon and the Galio.
Right, now we need, like, Shen support.
FlyQuest, yeah, we could do an all-global comp. Oh, man. Wow. TF AD carry took me back to, like, playing in Season 2.
That's a throwback, but it could technically work. If you're feeling real
confident. It's absolute garbage, but if you wanted to pick it.
It's a trash bag, but hey, maybe you can still make it work.
I did win on it. I did win on it a few times. back in like season 1, season 2.
Out of 400 games, I've got a couple wins under my belt.
Look, I didn't say the percentage. I just said I've won some games.
You got some dubs.
Objectively, there were some blue in the matches.
It's a true statement.
Okay.
Happy Mother's Day. Is Belveth Kaisa's mom?
I don't know. How many champions are moms? Not many.
Question.
Not many, right?
I don't know.
Oh, and Bessa, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Boom,
she
got
is a
one.
mom.
That was in the hit show Arcane.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew some lore. That's, I think, the first time I've ever gotten a lore question. Correct.
We're in there.
Well, I was asking you because I don't know lore either, so I have no idea. The Zeri is getting booed. I appreciate that.
That's fair.
I appreciate that.
That's harsh, but fair.
She had a long run of terrorizing the bot lane there for a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
But we do have the mid lane focus in the second half of bans from FlyQuest. They'll get rid of Hwei and Orianna. Meanwhile, on the Dignitas side, focusing the AD carries instead with Kalista and Lucian being banned away from Massu.
No global.
The Alistar being locked in. I love this for Busio. I think last week we got to see him put on a complete clinic with this character. Just insane timing, perfect positioning every single fight. Really, really
that's a
good
sign
stuff.
I could draw.
I'm ready to see it again.
Clean sweep. That's my kind of art. I can do that.
You can do that?
It's one of the few signs out there.
All right,
I think.
all right. You can write the word.
We could collab on it, yeah.
Okay, all right, for sure. But seeing the Alistar and no ban on the Sylas, this is actually one of the best times to lock in this character. Sylas loves the Alistar ultimate. It might be, in my opinion, it's the best ultimate for him in the game.
I think so too. You know, it's that or maybe like Malphite or a Mumu or something like that. But Poppy also goes crazy here, right? You know, Alistar, Pantheon, as well as Galio, all easy to interrupt there. I do think the Sylas is a fantastic pick. So honestly, these 4-5 for Dignitas made me feel so much better about their draft because I did feel like through the first 3, I was like, oh, this is looking tough. But their 4-5 were really, really strong here. And I almost don't even really care what the AD carry that you slot in is. It's going to be Sivir, which makes sense. You know, you do have a lot of strong waves clear. You clearly want to play through side lanes when you're playing this sort of comp with 3 globals. You want to be active on the map, so you definitely need that wave clear from the Sivir. And it's also a comp that has 3 melee champions that want to run in. Guess what? Sivir ult going to work really, really well with that. I do think it rounds things out well. But Dignitas have a real shot, I think, with this composition. They have good CC and lockdown. They have that Skarner plus Rumble combo. You know, if you can actually hit the ult on the Skarner and then you throw down the equalizer over top, you have a lot of damage. You have a lot of play and engage denial here from Isles. And you have Keine, who's going to have one of the strongest ultimates in the game to steal with this Alistar. Plus, he can take away like things like Galio ultimate and be able to make, you know, counter plays around the map as well. So it's going to be an exciting game.
I mean, so that's the high-level stuff for Dignitas. What about more on the specific objectives early on in this game? We talked about how in game number 1, FlyQuest had one big play early and Dig never really recovered from it. What do you guys think we need to see from Dignitas, specifically in the early game, to give them a chance to punch back in this one and take us to a third?
Yeah, I mean, I do think they need to make some strong plays around their lanes. The big thing for me, though, is looking at that first game. You look at what happened, and you're like, okay, that bot lane dive was so close, right? Like, a lot of things were, like, on very narrow margins. So I think that's the big thing that I would be looking at going into this draft.
All right, non-subscribers, we'll see you in 30 seconds. For everybody else, it's do or die time for Dignitas here in this one. Remember, the difference between winning this series and losing, if they win, they're top 2, they automatically have a playoff spot, they're in upper bracket. If you lose, you're bottom 2, which means you have to play an elimination match next week. And even if you win your elimination match, you make it into playoffs, but only into the lower bracket. It is a massive difference just depending on the outcome of this series.
Yeah, and it is going to be so important. Obviously, FlyQuest already has secured first place, but one of the things that just has been so fun about FlyQuest, you know, as we've entered this Fearless week, this was all their picks coming into this week, and I don't know if they had played Sivir yet. I don't see Sivir on there, so add another one to the board, so that makes them at 40 already. You know, they're constantly kind of adding more and more. Pantheon Jungle also is another first, so that's 41. They have been such a flexible team, and I've just found it really, really interesting that in both these games, there's been targeted bans towards Bwipo to protect Srtty's matchups, but they just don't have enough bans to ban out all his answers. And so I think it's so cool that we're seeing a player like this who is doing, you know, such unique niche counter picks that are considered in the past to be more like, oh, that's like for solo queue, that would never work in competitive. He's just bringing them out and kind of proving people wrong.
And I think the thing for me that I really like thus far again, it is best of 3, and we see what I'm about to talk about more in best of 5, but they've also been put together cohesive compositions while doing this too, right? Because sometimes you end up in Fearless where you have like a good first rotation and then the rest of your draft maybe doesn't synergize with it well. I do feel like FlyQuest still put together really nice comps overall.
And we've got an invade from Inspired early on here, recognizing that Pantheon is a more powerful fighter against the Skarner early. He'll force Sheiden out of his own jungle. And I like what you guys are talking about with the Fearless, because it also goes back to, I believe it was an interview with Bwipo that we had just in one of the earlier weeks this split, where he talked about, yeah, one of the things with Fearless is the fact that, you know, you're thinking about, oh, how does this character work in my specific situation, but not how does it work together as a team? How does this not accomplish the objective? And FlyQuest seemed to really have a mind for the Fearless game. Keine is not having a good time in this lane. No, he is struggling early on here with the trades as Quad using the range and the power of that Taliyah to take priority over the mid lane, control over that, plus Inspired invading the enemy jungle means life is difficult for Sheiden trying to maneuver around with FlyQuest dominating the Rift early.
I mean, it is really difficult. You know, he lost 2 camps, and he's not going to have any sort of opportunity to actually go for a counter invade. Inspired is even crossing back to his blue side quadrant to be able to cover that, if just in case Sheiden would go for an invade. So a really smart path, you know, from Inspired, just did Rafters, invaded towards the enemy side, takes away 2 camps, and as a result, builds that nice early advantage for himself.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was kind of hoping to see without those earlier lane swaps and grub timers, right? Is that a little bit more early creative pathing, and I do really love seeing this from Inspired, and I'm curious to see if he's going to look for anything here as Sheiden is approaching this bot lane since they have pushed up.
Yeah, they do push up, but the Gromp already going to be gone. He'll just take the crab, and Inspired should be just fine to take the blue here. I don't think they're going to look for any sort of a re-invade. But, you know, I also wanted to touch on the fact, you know, that Sheiden and Srtty here, you know, these guys, you know, were a duo, you know, back actually on FlyQuest. Papa Smithy had a quote about them talking about, you know, them being on the FlyQuest Challengers team and how important they were for this team, that they were able to, you know, guarantee wins at the NAC level. And, you know, promoting them for Dig gave them a higher floor than I think he was expecting a lot of people to give them that credit for. And we have seen Dignitas, you know, I think get better over the weeks. Yes, they're still losing a lot of these series, but it feels like they are making some progress. And, you know, we'll have to see throughout the year if they can continue to build on that and just get better and better and better.
Right, Inspired, level 4 versus the level 3 of Sheiden, as Bwipo has control over the 1v1 topside, but he is running low on mana. Sheiden trying to use the E-stall impact there as Keine versus Quad over here in the mid lane. Keine now with a health advantage. The Kingslayer giving him so much extra HP to work with here. Quad needs one more hit. The auto attack in the air. Keine, you had to flash earlier, not at all. It buffers through, and that's a free solo kill for Quad.
Keine was trying to hold on because he almost had his cooldowns back up and the Conqueror stacked. And I think in his mind he's saying, if I get to my next spell rotation, I flash on him, I kill him for sure. But he underestimated the damage there from Quad, and then like you say, if he flashes and that auto starts, it is coming for you. It is going to follow through and get that kill. And here's the fight one more time. Quad starting with the level advantage as well is honestly so big. And I think a large part of the reason that he was even willing to take the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. As we see him get that knockback. And yeah, you can see that's where the hesitation from Keine comes in. This is going to set up Quad so well in this lane. He was kind of already having the push there. And it sets Keine back, right? And Keine has also been a really good, like, bright spot for them when we are talking about some of these solo laners that you brought up, Clayton. He has had some strong individual performances and had a good performance in lane in game 1 as well.
He absolutely did, but I mean, it's so tough when you're playing a champion like Sylas, and particularly when you're playing just melee into ranged in general, right? If you fall behind, it's like the way that you have pressure in the lane is by being able to actually scrap with them really heavily and threaten all-ins and do this sort of thing. And if you fall too far behind, you can't actually take trades because you can't win them. So all that happens is you just get slowly chipped down, and you never can actually fight back. And it really puts you into this tough spot here. So Keine, unfortunately, you know, tried to play towards the side brush there, and had he actually cleared out those 3 range minions before that fight and been level 5, it's maybe a pretty different story.
Well, now FlyQuest have swapped
fat wave.
Massu and Busio up to the top side. This big wave about to crash into the turret. Isle's doing everything he can to hold it until Tomo makes his way up here to collect all of that standing money as our top laners have switched to the bottom side of the map. Their TPs are pretty much synced up. I don't believe we're going to have either of those available when the Grubs first spawn. We'll see if Dignitas can do a better job contesting neutral objectives this game than they did in the first one. Remember, back in game number 1, it was all 3 Grubs. It was the first Dragon, completely uncontested as FlyQuest controlled everything, and Inspired, again, just looking to get off to an early lead here in terms of the neutrals. Keine stepping away from the seismic shove, does not want to get knocked back into that unraveled earth yet again.
Yeah, and that's just really unfortunate for Dig, right? Because Sheiden's kind of looking around, see if he can get anything done. Quad's able to put him off of it, and in the meantime, FlyQuest are going to be able to take that first Drake off this pressure they've been able to create.
Tomo lost his flash somehow, up on the top side. I'm assuming he just got, comboed out of a brush or something, but he did lose his flash. They are up a little bit of farm. Obviously, this is going to equalize. It's very even overall, between these 2 bot lanes. But kind of some of these positive points have been the bot lane as well through these 2 games. Early, was Tomo and Isles getting a small advantage in that 2v2 where I thought Varus and Nico were really going to kind of slam them. So we'll see if they can be a point of power for the team this time around.
Still a 1,000 gold lead, though, for FlyQuest. With that early Ocean Drake, also feels really nice while we're still in laning phase to just have the extra sustain there. Encourage you to take some more of those trades that we know FlyQuest is not shy about in the first place. Massu just going in immediately with the spell shield to block what Tomo can retaliate with. And it's just these small advantages they'll continue to try to build as this goes on. That first set of Grubs is live. You can see that Sheiden is already in the pit starting to work on those, but Inspired is nearby. He has level 6 as well, so the Grand Starfall is a possibility. Yes, Bwipo also does have the Grand Entrance to be able to help with that, but he's on the other side of the map, so he can't quite reach. Inspired's going to lead the charge forward. Now, Sheiden has secured the first Grub, and he finds the Impale, but it's only onto Inspired. The Pantheon's going to be the focus here at the start. Fourth shot coming in. Inspired gets himself back away. Dignitas continuing the attack as Inspired is down to 300 HP, but Quad has made his way into the fight, and Isles has to try to run. Busio looking for the stun, immediately followed up with a Comet Spear, and Inspired picks up the second kill of the game for FlyQuest. Down in the bottom lane, a trade back and forth brings both players down to about 40% HP. 2 Grubs secured by Dig, so they'll get the neutral objective credit for the feats, but the third Grub is still waiting.
Honestly, just a really good job by FlyQuest, peeling for Inspired as he got engaged on. Busio had his ultimate stolen there by Keine. Keine wanted to go right in on him. Busio just headbutts him straight away. You can see that a lot of damage is going to be blocked by Inspired as well with the E. It's this initial engage, and when you're committing to the Pantheon like that, you really have to be able to burst him down. But you can see Keine gets pushed out, on the other side. A lot of this damage is getting blocked from the Jhin. The Jhin is so far away, only has the ultimate, can't actually really get in range to do anything after that. So if you don't kill them off and that initial kind of flurry of damage, it's like you have Alistar, a Skarner with no ult, and then Keine, and that's it. It's not a lot of damage.
Yeah, that squad's not hitting super hard. And Dignitas, though, we'll see if they can get this third Grub. Remember that with the rework to the Grubs, you get the single Grub might spawn only if you have all 3. So that could be an extra advantage they could earn for themselves if they can secure this last little derpy dude inside that pit. But FlyQuest still hanging around the area, though. Do not want to allow them to do that, as Quad back here on the Taliyah does have his Archangel Staff fully completed. Will accelerate the growth of that tier up to the Seraph's Embrace. And honestly, last game, Keine was the 1 point of strength for Dignitas, so Quad had a bit of a quieter game. This time around, Quad is poised to be able to be a real decider for the FlyQuest side.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard. When you do get that solo kill as Quad, you're always going to have push. You're always going to be one having that pressure. Keine needs to somehow kind of find some skirmish where he picks up a couple kills and gets himself, back into it, because you have got to be strong on this champion, especially he is a catalyst, so he's going to be going Roa Sylas, which is obviously a very slow build.
Okay, Busio and Massu ready to take the 2v2, make it a 3v2. Grand Starfall spells Tomo's doom back in the mid lane. Bwipo slammed up into the wall as Kaine's going to be the focus yet again. Tomo dies to the Sivir up in the top side as Keine barely lives. Quad taken down to 100 HP, and Srtty turns and burns him. Bwipo's about to die now too as Inspired claims Isle's life up in the top side, but a double kill back over to Srtty in mid lane. A tale of 2 battles, a tale of 2 results. 2 dead on Fly, 2 dead on Dig. The bodies hit the floor across the rift.
And again, Dig actually being able to trade back these kills as Sheiden's going back in up here.
Yeah, that was a little crazy, or maybe not. Srtty joins up to try to secure the kill onto Massu. Busio defending his AD carry, then using the Unbreakable Will to guarantee his own escape.
I think Sheiden didn't realize Inspired was still around. I think he thought it was just going to be the duo lane there. He saw that Massu was low. He knew that Srtty had DP. Srtty had just gotten a double kill and bought the Leandries, so they're hoping to be able to actually kill off Massu. At the very least, they do get the flash off of Massu there. And Dignitas, yeah, they lost out on the top side, but now they have a point of power here. It is going to be the top lane this time around.
They have a point of power, and they were able to get that final grub, right? So they will get that Void Might spawn in addition to the feat's credit. And we'll see where we're going here first. Okay, we're going topside into the 2v2. Inspired can pretty much join from anywhere, right? So Massu cleans up Tomo on the back end of this, and then Isles punts both of them out as the Poppy. And then Massu and Inspired are able to clean him up.
Yep, able to finish him off, and just a good engage there from Busio.
Here we go.
And then this was that mid lane fight. You can see that Galio is moving up. You can see that Sheiden starts to move over, as does Srtty. Everyone is collapsing. They know this fight is happening on top side. Keine flashes out of the Galio ult. He's really just trying to buy time here. And then as the flash forward comes in from Bwipo, he doesn't quite have enough damage. It looked like the Justice Punch got blocked there by Sheiden. He stepped in front of that to actually give enough time for Keine to survive, get the Kingslayer, has that heal. Srtty comes in, overheats. They chase down Bwipo with the ultimate there from Skarner as well. Nice peels coming through from Sheiden to keep Keine alive. And now Srtty gets paid.
Honestly, it was perfect timing there from Dignitas. As soon as Bwipo flashed in, the cavalry shows up, Quad has to flash out the other way, and it's instantly cooked. That was the absolute value of the defense against the turret dive in game one that went badly. Everything there just went wrong. Everything here just went right. And it keeps Dignitas in the game, although FlyQuest still has a 1,500 gold lead. They still have the first two dragons, but Dignitas did claim that first set of grubs. And we do have Rift Herald spawning in just a minute and a half.
Yeah, and the big difference maker to me is after some of these fights, FlyQuest have been able to get a lot of chip turret damage off of it when Dignitas have had to potentially reset in a lot of these cases. And then, yeah, FlyQuest are back on their early dragon stacking. I was going to say BS, but I don't think I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah. It's mulch.
Well, you did just say it.
Well, sometimes when I can't swear, and I want to say the swear, and then my head just brain farts, and I can't think of what to say.
I got my messages deleted in Twitch chat yesterday for the games that I wasn't casting.
Little temp
you're
ban.
it happens all the time. Don't worry. I take it as a badge of honor at this point.
You know, I've gotten timed out in Twitch chat before.
Yeah, you know me. I'm just always hanging out by the bleachers after school causing trouble. You just got to live a little. Busio and Bwipo, though, hanging out here, seeing if maybe they can get an angle as Inspired arrives. But no, Srtty was wise to it. He does not care about this at all. FlyQuest, they made the attempt, swing and a miss.
Yeah, and that's a bit unfortunate there, as that Pantheon ultimate is quite a long cooldown. Srtty was playing very carefully and was not getting aggressive whatsoever. They were hoping, I think, that he would step forward a little bit more aggressively because he is in this advantageous position, but at the same time, he realizes what could be going on. Now Pantheon ult is down, and he can play more aggressively in that 1v1.
And honestly, that kind of awareness, that kind of patience is what I really want to see from a guy that's kind of fresh into Tier 1 pro play, that was known for being such a lane-dominant player in solo queue, would just slam his matchups. You're going to win because he has this massive lead every game. Being able to reel that in and say, no, this is not the time or the place, we've got to wait for the moment, I think is really good indication of growth as a player and acclimating more to the Tier 1 stage.
It's evolution from solo queue to pro. You know, that solo queue, you walk up, you die, and then you ping your jungler.
Exactly.
In pro, that doesn't work, because then the jungler, you're going to actually have to look at the guy after the game, and he's going to say, what the hell, man?
And the big thing coming out of that is that Dig actually were able to get the Herald on spawn as Busio's caught.
Yeah, Busio popping the Unbreakable Will for some extra survivability, but he's very squishy still. Equalizer comes down. Busio staying alive as Keine tries to make the flank, but the Alistar still escaping. Abscond Abduct will not hit the target. Busio's still on the run. Srtty trying to catch up to these guys as Bwipo channels a taunt, but it ain't going to hit anybody. Justice Punch to disengage. FlyQuest scramble to protect their support, and they get him out alive.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. I think that Keine misclicked the Sivir instead of the Alistar and stole the wrong ultimate because they were stacked. I'm assuming that's what happened. I'm kind of curious. I'm trying to watch it back in the spectator client. Yeah, they were both both kind of stacked. So I think that's what happened. Maybe he intentionally did that, just try to escape and realize that the TP was going bad. But, you know, surprising to see him take that Sivir ult. Either way, TP's in, does get out. The game is 2,000 in the lead for FlyQuest. But Herald is still available, so Sheiden maybe can help them take a tower back. They are going to lose this bot lane tower, though. Very low chance they can actually keep this alive. In fact, there's no chance they can keep this alive.
No,
they're not keeping
not a
it alive.
shot. And it's first turret of the game. They already had the feat of warfare, so that means 2 out of 3 feats claimed. It's the special boots again for FlyQuest. Here's another look at this fight. So let's see what Keine does with the ulti.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been intentional if he realized that, hey, the fight is just going bad. But this is the combo I was talking about earlier. Sheiden stuns him into the wall, and then he throws down the Skarner ult. He catches 2, and you drop the equalizer over the top. You're looking for that layering, but as the Galio comes in, they can't really follow it up, and that was absolutely not a misclick because they were very separated.
Yeah.
So I think he realized, you know what? The fight is going bad. I don't need the Alistar ult. I just need to run.
Well, it does end up resulting in no deaths for Dignitas, but unfortunately no kills either. And now Inspired has made his way into the top lane. Srtty flashes over the wall, but he's flashing into enemy territory. Inspired going to continue the chase. Srtty does have teleport to try to make a quick escape if he thinks he can find a moment to recall quickly. But Busio also moving around here to try to find the Dignitas escapee. And now the support and jungle duo of FlyQuest going after Srtty. Quad's ready to join up, and that's a killing spree for Inspired. Srtty, he ends up spending his flash just to waste a little bit of FlyQuest time.
And that should also stop this Rift Herald push, right? So it's going to give Cryo back to FlyQuest so they can potentially go in on this Drake, as Bwipo is also just pushing topside.
Exactly. Bwipo takes the tower. Top lane, Inspired. Yes, he ults in. The last one didn't work this time. He forces the flash. They get the kill. They take the tower. And that is really tough for Srtty. And it's just difficult in these situations. They haven't been able to really get a lot of deep vision, which means you can't track the Pantheon.
Srtty's multi-kill gold lead has now been reduced to less than the value of a cannon minion. In the meantime, Bwipo took the tier 1 turret up in the top lane, and we now have Soul Point 18 minutes into the game on yet another Infernal Soul map for the side of FlyQuest with a 3,500 gold lead. The game went from much closer than game number 1 to, oh, it's game number 1.
Without AD Niddle.
Yeah, and they're going to get this mid-tier 1 as well. And I think that is, again, the super dangerous thing about FlyQuest is after a lot of these skirmishes, after a lot of these plays, even if they get a kill, Dignitas have had to maybe reset outside of that Rift Herald take, right? Whereas FlyQuest, they were able to get a lot more chip damage on turrets early, and after a lot of these skirmishes and fights, they're getting a Drake, or they're sending someone to split push a side wave and get more turret damage. They're sending Bwipo to take top tier 1, stuff like that. Again, just leveraging their map pressure whenever they are able to get a kill.
And it has just felt to me like Dignitas is so light on damage in this composition. When Keine fell behind, and Srtty is often in a side lane, they have these 4v4s where all your damage is a Sylas who's way down, and then a Jhin who's mostly just contributing ultimate, right? From like a screen away.
Yeah.
And a lot of the ulti shots are just getting blocked by like Pantheon-y or an Alistar or a Sivir spell shield or, you know, whatever. So it's just feeling like they don't have any damage. Like, yeah, Poppy does some upfront damage, Skarner does a little bit of upfront damage, but when Srtty is not there, they really don't have much. It just feels like in the extended fights, they are losing out so heavily. What Quad and Massu are doing is heavily out DPSing what their counterparts are doing, and the same is true of Inspired. So it's just a tough spot when Srtty was really the only strong one on the squad and is locked in a side lane. It just doesn't feel like they have enough oomph behind these team fights, even if they land the CC.
Plus, losing that flash on him also huge when he tried to escape up there in the top side. You could see that he was thinking for the teleport plan, but FlyQuest immediately just dogpiling and making him waste that summoner spell. Now, it's even harder to get that target access with a little bit of damage that he does have, as Dignitas are going to need to find a pretty big fight pretty soon, because if it gets much further away from them, they're just going to be depending on a FlyQuest mistake, and based on last game, it's been a little bit looser, I feel like, this game, but FlyQuest don't seem to be making that level of error.
There's always Alcon.
I guess you could always have a classic
cross your fingers and hope for an Otacon through.
I mean, the tough part is the Dragons are even faster this game. Actually, a lot faster this game. You know, they're looking at like a 23.5-minute soul. So that is very, very difficult. And Dig are not looking like they're in a spot to really fight right now. You know, I do think before this next Dragon comes through, we're going to have the second item very likely for Quad, maybe even Inspired as well. Massu already has his IE completed, so he is really, really strong. And it just doesn't feel like what you're seeing on the other side is going to line up with that. You know, if you have Keine, on just a Roa that's not even stacked and some components. Like, is he really going to be able to get enough done in this next fight? It feels unlikely.
It's hard to believe it, right? Like it's
going to have to be a perfect fight, right? Like, you're going to have to get that dream where, you know, Sheiden CCs someone in the wall, gets a multi-man Skarner roll, Rumble Equalizer, everything hits at the same time, and you kind of kill him off that way. Barring those kind of plays, it just feels like they straight up don't have enough damage.
4,500 gold lead for FlyQuest, as we still have less than 2 minutes on that dragon spawning. Still going to be another 3.5 or so until Baron is on the map. So FlyQuest just going to continue playing this one slow for now, shoving out those waves, taking control over the rift. And you can see an absolute ton of vision in this topside river from FlyQuest. All of these wards placed down in that topside river for total control. Thank you, Emily. Over that area of the map to guarantee nobody on Dignitas is trying to sneak away an Otacon. Nobody is trying to set up some sort of a cheesy brush play to catch somebody on FlyQuest out.
And it's just really easy for so many members of FlyQuest. Oh,
that was a boomerang blade steal from Massu.
That feels so bad.
Allowed to have anything.
It's tough, man. Quad just based. You know, he finished his second item. He's got the Leandries now. Black Cleaver got finished for Inspired, so they all have that second item. Even Bwipo has a second item now as well, as he actually completes the Riftmaker, and they are potentially just looking for a fight up on topside.
Yeah, Quad started to ride the Weaver's Wall away, immediately hops off of it as Inspired and Bwipo are ready to reinforce. The Pantheon Galio combo, the meteor shower falling from the sky to back up their mid laner.
No one's there.
Now, Massu and Busio, we were talking about Massu as a wave clear option when you have all these globals. He can just shove those waves down instantly.
Yeah, you see it in action right there. And what I was trying to set up is how so many members of FlyQuest can be anywhere at once, right? So if they do want to try to get a pick in these side lanes, if they do want to try to set up something against Dig, you can have Inspired joining, you can have Quad joining. Both of those ultimates now will be down, though, for this Drake setup, but they still have first rotation on it.
Okay, Quad going for a seismic shove there. No setup means no hit. As Massu now being protected from the Jhin ulti there by the Alistar. Bwipo and Inspired off to the side. Dignitas already tried to make their move and they didn't find anything. Sheiden using Ishtal's impact to escape through the wall. FlyQuest end up getting the better of the trade despite the fact that it's Dignitas trying to make it happen. Sheiden takes a little bit of damage. Bwipo with a nice taunt onto Keine. Boomerang blade over the top. Keine has stolen away the Alistar ultimate, so FlyQuest know they can't fully commit to trying to kill off the Sylas. Dignitas still looking for an entry point here into the bot side river as the Drake has been started by Inspired and FlyQuest. This is Infernal Soul if they claim it. That's why Dignitas are so adamant about fighting for this. Busio at half HP already using the Unbreakable Will. Dignitas want to try to let that fade away. Keine now using his own stolen Alistar ultimate as Bwipo zones him off. The Drake itself down to 4,000 HP. FlyQuest moving back into contestant, allowing it to reset here just a little bit as Bwipo and Keine keep scrapping off to the side. The Infernal is going to be claimed by Inspired, and Dignitas is about to have a real bad time. Sheiden is already down. They try to use Isles to tackle Inspired into the wall, but it ain't gonna matter. The Grand Entrance already there to protect him. The Dignitas jungler still the only casualty. The Infernal Soul is the prize. Srtty is running towards the wrong base again, and FlyQuest are gonna kick him straight out of their jungle as Massu picks up another kill onto Isles. Keine and Tomo are on the run, and Dignitas' chances evaporate in front of the Infernal Dragon Pit.
Oh, well played by FlyQuest. I was just about, you got it though. I was about to point out, I'm pretty sure Isles is also going to die on the back half of this fight. As Baron spawns after it, we see this really extended fight over the Drake.
I actually really loved how Inspired played. This is actually after it, but he realized that Keine was flanking and he had the Alistar already. So what he did was he walked down, jumped on him, forced him to use the Alistar ult early, and then Bwipo just continued to mark him and never allow him to actually join the fight. They already knew that Tomo would use the Jhin ult, which was completely blocked by Busio in the mid lane. So they really didn't have very little damage. And look at Massu at this point in the game. 1v3, easily knocks him down. Could have killed them all if they stayed around. And you can see Sheiden knows it. Their chances are cooked after that one. But we're back to live and we're back to scrapping again.
Yeah, we got another fight as immediately Isles finds the Keeper's Verdict. Quad in the target, but hey, as soon as he flashes, they can't do anything else onto him. Equalizer hits Massu a little bit, but not a ton of value out of that one. Massu takes a bit more damage, but now Srtty in danger, having a flash away from the taunt of the Galio. Busio and Massu making a little bit more space. Unbreakable will from Busio, but he's already very low. Curtain call, looking to snipe Massu down, but he gets out of the range in time. Inspired about to take a couple more bullets. Got to be careful about that one. Blocks up the last one with the shield as Bwipo then tries to escape, but a nice pull from Sheiden finds Quad. They get the enemy mid laner. Dignitas get a pick, and they really needed one. Bwipo goes back in, trying to make some kind of a revenge play, but instead gives a second kill over to Dignitas. 2 kills plus 1 turret. It's not going to bring them back to an even state, but Dignitas get a fight.
I mean, it's something. It's a start, and Quad actually almost killed Massu with his ultimate as well. He bumped him back into the enemy team and made him have to flash out. This fight, FlyQuest do go in early, but Busio gets ejected. By the time Bwipo shows up, Quad had already taken a lot of damage. He had to flash out. They realized, this is actually not a good spot to fight in. Srtty lands a really good equalizer, and then right here, look at that. Massu gets knocked back to the other side of the ultimate. Busio goes in to try to peel. Tomo just flashes over the combo, forces the flash out there from Massu. Really aggressive stuff from him, and very well played. Yes, the Jhin ulti can't actually finish off any kill, as Spell Shield and then the shield from Inspired block a couple of those shots, but it's this redive here.
Yeah, this is where Sheiden is able to go in, get Quad. Even when Quad gets the flick off, then they're able to go back in, clean up Bwipo as well, and Keine manages to live off the back half of that too. So a little something, and also kind of an indicator of what we've seen from Dig, where they do have these long games, even when they do fall behind, because they're unwilling to quit, right? Like if they do see an angle, they will try to go in.
And they got 1.5 or 2,000 of that gold lead back, but now FlyQuest wants to return the favor. They immediately 4v1 Srtty. There's no way for the Rumble to get out of that one. And with that big team fight damage threat that you guys were talking about earlier out of the picture, FlyQuest now see an easy opening to go in for the Otacon, an easy opening to go in for the mid laner. Keine knocked down to 20% HP, forced to flash away. FlyQuest now know this Otacon is theirs, free and clear.
The question is, do they just start Baron after as well? I feel like they can. You just push Keine back to base. Srtty is still dead. The equalizer's on cooldown even when he reses. They're pushing mid lane, but the Baron's going to be gone in a hurry.
Yeah. And it seems like Dig have accepted it, right? They already TP Keine in to try to push in that bot tier 1. They themselves are pushing in up on mid. So Otacon and Baron over to FlyQuest, and they'll try to get this bot tier 1 off of it. He should be able to get on the next push.
Yeah, Keine needs a little bit more minion time here on the turret. Looks like nobody from FlyQuest will try to arrive and save the thing. So Keine can at least get that, get a little bit more objective bounty money back towards Dig. So the gold lead is actually just about where it was before the initial pick onto Srtty, leading into the 2 objectives, because Dignitas managed to take the 2 turrets in trade for the death, plus Otacon, plus Baron. But the problem is, FlyQuest now have permanent Otacon power. They have the Baron for the next 3 minutes to snowball that gold lead further and further ahead. So now the job for Dignitas is very difficult. Dig in, defend, and try to hold as many of these towers that are still standing as you can.
Dig in, I see what you did there.
Man, that's...
Freak is with us still.
That was not intentional. I'm not trying to step on Freak's toes here. That is his territory.
No.
You
get credit for it.
I don't want it.
Too bad.
Freak can have it. That's
Dig
his
in
world.
right now.
No, man, that's his world.
Well, FlyQuest are actually digging in because they're going to get the push on the spot side off of the Baron minion. But again, they're just making it so difficult, right? You could see even in that Otacon setup, it's so dark. We have this kind of spread of FlyQuest members that make it really dangerous for Dig to even walk up. As they have the push and the pressure from the Baroned up minions, they'll be able to get this in with the Taliyah wall as well.
Yeah, the classic Taliyah wall to go for the tier 3 turret push. Inspired shield blocks a lot of damage, but he still has to flash away from the incoming Dignitas threat. So Dig will hold the tier 3 for now. It took a lot of damage, but it's still not dead. Keep your eyes on Bwipo, though. Inspired, thinking about taking a recall, but now staying with the rest of the team. Still has 40% HP to work with, and the shield cooldown is back by now. But FlyQuest don't want to take a crazy risky fight. The Elder Dragon is alive. This is the one real way for Dignitas to get back into the game.
And they did get all the tier 2s. off the map on that push. So you can see the Red Bull Baron power play up above 3K. So they want to spend their gold. They go back to base. They finish their items. It's now 4 fully completed items there for Massu. They're going to heal back up, and they're going to look to take the Elder here. Dignitas knows this is realistically their last shot. If you can steal the Elder, you can maybe flip the game on its head, win a fight, maybe make something happen, but without that, they've got no chance.
And they're about to walk into a brush that FlyQuest has full ownership of. Grand entrance right down over the top from Bwipo as Sheiden's locked up by the Justice Punch, and the Dignitas jungler is already down. Kaine's about to join him. Bwipo staying on top of that mid laner yet again as Azael tries to get away off to the side, barely surviving here with 100 HP. Bwipo with another 2-man taunt, and Dignitas are staring at black and white screens. Keine and Isles still stumbling away, but not for long. Inspired with a grand starfall for the grand funeral of the Dignitas mid laner. Elder's not even required. FlyQuest are marching down mid lane, marching down bot lane, marching down whichever lane they would like to march, because Dignitas's base and all of Summoner's Rift belong to them. Isles can't cut the wave. FlyQuest has found themselves at the Dignitas Nexus. 31 minutes and 45 seconds, right about on time with their average time. Sheiden gets a pull kill onto Bwipo, but it ain't gonna matter. FlyQuest will sweep this series. They will finish their group at the tip top, 3-0.